Good evening, and welcome to the sixth story in my read through of the Complete Griselda by Oliver Dickinson. I hope you're sitting comfortably. Um, you have a suitable libation. Mine is tea, of course. They're addressed appropriate for the occasion. Waistcoat as normal. And tonight's story is The Great Chart Caper, the sixth story in the volume. Which was published, let me check, here we go, which is the first story in the series not to have appeared in White Dwarf, but did actually appear in the Pavis box set in 1983, published by Cursium. So, here we go. If there is one thing of which there is no shortage of in Pavis, it is charts. In fact, I will guarantee that any three characters you may meet in the street, man, woman, or troll, one will have a chart, and at least half of these will give you a very interesting story of how this is a clue to some great treasure hidden in the rubble or thereabouts. Some will be adventurers who aim to go for the treasure themselves and are looking to raise a stake, but others will be offering to sell you the chart at a very reasonable price. And it is a sure thing that more dough gets made by selling charts than by following them. Now, some unscrupulous characters will sell you charts that they cook up over a mug of ale, and you will be lucky if you only lose your time following them, for such persons have a way of ensuring themselves against disappointed customers by showing them routes into some very tough spots. But it's a surprising fact that many who deal in charts believe in them too, even when it should be obvious that to anyone of normal intelligence that they are by no means accurate. Of course, the way I see it, the adventurers do not have normal intelligence, or they will not be adventurers. And many of those who hang around adventurers and sell them charts and such are really frustrated adventurers themselves, and dearly love to talk about going after treasure, as long as they do not have to do it. Treasure Trove Herbie is just such a guy. I know Herbie since we grew up in Badside together, and always he is hustling some chart. No, Herbie is by no means dumb. In fact, he knows as much about charts as anyone in this town, and can truly spot a phony one in a moment. But he's somewhat daffy about charts, and will spend all he has on them if he thinks they are straight goods, and will put in days studying them. He's always buying off adventurers and prospectors and such, who are selling their charts to make ends meet, and always selling them himself to stay alive. I wish to say that no one can sell a chart better than Herbie, for he's always getting carried away while talking the chart up, so that every one is a red-hot certainty to set an adventure up for life. And when they turn out as cold as the frozen wastes, as they generally do, no one is more surprised and sad than Herbie, for he can really make himself believe in his charts. Sometimes the chart pays off, though never for very much, and then Herbie gets a little stake, for he generally take part of his price as a percentage of the payoff. But he always spends it right away on the next chart, so he's never holding enough dough. Now, Herbie is quite careful about who he tells charts to, however much he believes in them, because some people can be very touchy about getting wrong information, and he tries to size up his prospects before opening business. So I'm very surprised to see him talking with Griselda one night in Lilina's, and he's about nothing but a chart, for there it is on the table between them. I'm surprised because Herbie knows as well as I do that Griselda is a doll that you must not monkey with in any respect, or she will likely carve your ears off, and also because I figure out her for one smart doll, who will have no heart truck with such things as charts. Yet there she is, listening to Herbie and nodding a lot, like any other prospect of his when he starts going good, and once or twice she even smiles. Finally, she gives him some dough and pockets the chart, and then goes out very careful indeed, looking all about as if she expects to be jumped at any moment, and keeping her hand on her sword at all times. When she is gone, I step over to Herbie and say, "Every man knows his own best, Herbie, but are you not getting in over your head selling a chart to Griselda?" "Oh, but I do not sell her a chart," he says. "She wants my professional opinion on this chart she has, and pays me for it. But I'm glad to do it just to see the chart. It really is a lily. And I'm surprised she does nothing about it before, for she has it some time." Now this sounds somewhat familiar to me, so I say, Herbie, is this the same chart that she shows Lucky Eddie? How'll I know? He replies. I never see that one. It may well be, but what of it? I remember you telling me that he was quite impressed with it. Herbie, I say to him, very patient. That chart is part of the plan for setting Eddie up. If it is the same chart, it's likely as phony as a friendly brew. No, he says, it cannot be phony. I will stake my professional reputation on it. It fits in with a lot of stuff I pick up in my career. She's one lucky doll, however she comes by it, for I judge that the treasure it points to will be worth a king's ransom, if she handles it right. Now Herbie is speaking quite loudly by this time, and at these words many ears prick up around Lilina's. And before you can say all-length adventurous, Herbie is surrounded by adventure types offering him drinks and even money in their wish to know more. But Herbie puts them all off. It will be unethical to spread any more details about it, he says, and besides, Griselda may not like it. At this, a big tough doll, who just gets into town as a caravan guard, and seems a natural Stormbull type, what with drinking ale by the cask and belching freely, and smelling high enough to be noticed even in Lilina's, laughs and says, I cannot see much to that little snip. Just for a moment there is silence, as everyone looks at the door. And then we all start to fill this doll in on the details of Griselda's career, as much as known to the public. And when we get through, the doll has nothing much to say, and seems rather thoughtful. Well, the story is all over town before nightfall, and you can take your pick which version you wish to believe. There are plenty of details that Herbie never mentions, such as that the treasure is a cache of true stones. It really is quite surprising how fast everyone seems to be talking about nothing else but the chart, and what Griselda will do with it, and so forth. Now, when a story gets as well known as this, it is bound to come to the ears of high shots of all sorts, in the government and the temples and the rebel, and even the tribes. And it's generally reckoned that Griselda will have to move very carefully, for when very large sums are involved, even high shots who are supposed to be strictly legitimate can lose their scruples. And indeed, Griselda is hardly seen after this, and pretty soon she and Wolfhead and his men drop out of sight altogether. Some figure that they go for the treasure, but there are plenty of other stories. You hear that Griselda gets patriotic about the home of her ancestors and donates the chart to the Temple of Pavis, which sounds about as likely as she decides to train as a healer, which others say that while others say that she sells it for a very nice price to Jarvis Garn, or a Queen of the Sables, or any one of 100 others. There is even a story that a lunar in the government, whose name is Halicon, or some such, and who is by all accounts a most obnoxious young creep, calls in Griselda and makes her an offer she cannot refuse, wishes to pin several raps on her unless she hands the chart over. Nobody knows which story is true, and if Herbie knows anything, he's not telling. In fact, it gets difficult to find Herbie too, though there are reports that he's seen with all kinds of important characters. One day I do run into him, and he's acting most busy indeed. I ask him if he's not getting involved in something dangerous, but he just smiles. Do not worry about me, he says. I have my friends. If all goes well, I may be able to leave this town, at least, for I'm getting sick of living on the edge all the time. And then I press him for details he will say no more, but heads off into the sage's temple. By and by there is word of much activity, such as precedes important expeditions into the rubble. Now such expeditions do not set off when just anyone can see them, in case curious persons will wish to follow. But it is certain that they set off, for stories start getting about, and the stories match up. For a while it seems there will be a war down there, if only half is true, for Lunas and Orlanthi and Humacti and Stormbulls and Himalians and Pavis worshippers and all the different bunches of sage, and I do not know what else, are all reported to be after the treasure in Griselda's chart. But it seems that the parties mostly wind up in different places, and when they meet they play it cool, for some such tough characters have respect for one another and wish no unnecessary heat, so nobody gets hurt much, but nobody comes back with any treasure. After they all get back, there is plenty of heat around town, with everybody looking for Griselda and Herbie high and low. But they are not to be found, and it's all a great mystery. Some guys who think they are smart say they know all along that something smells, and it is nothing but a plot to shake down the whole of Pavis. But I cannot believe that Herbie will have brains enough to be party to such a plot. Just when the excitement is beginning to die down, who come into Pavis with a bunch of sables but Griselda, Wolfhead, and his men? And I see them come in. The luminous guards stop them at the gate and will not let them go further. They seem most surprised at this treatment, and are beginning to utter loud complaints over such impeding of citizens about their lawful business, when out comes this Halicon guy, looking so warm that chances are you can light a torch from any part of him. He points straight at Griselda and yells, "That chart is a phony, and only that I am lucky I may not be getting out safe. I will see you in jail till you rot." "What is this all about?" says a new voice. And we see the governor himself coming down the road with a bunch of guards. The Halicon guy looks somewhat disconcerted, and he's starting to get something out when it seems like half of Pavis arrives on the scene. And this is a whole bunch of priests and such yelling for justice to the governor, and it's clear they are wishing for justice against Griselda. The governor cannot make head or tail of what is occurring, so he orders that all move to the courtyard of the Seven Mothers Temple, where we will hear about the whole business. Everyone goes along, and I managed to squeeze in. Griselda then explains to the governor that she and Wolfhead and the others are with the sables for 10 or 12 days and know nothing of what comes off. Anyone can see the governor takes quite a shine to her, though he must know her reputation. But nobody who sees Griselda there, about knee-high to the guards and as pretty as they come, will figure her for a hard case. Anyway, he smiles at her very pleasant, and then asks the Halicon guy what his complaint is. Miss Halicon claims that he gets a chart off Griselda, and that leads him and his party into great danger. And if they only come out a little frayed around the edges, it is no thanks to her. And it is all a plot against the loyal servant of the Lunar Empire to set him up with a phony chart. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, that was a storm in me. Before anyone else can speak, the Stormpool representatives roar with laughter, and one yells, "Of course the chart is phony, mother lover. We have the genuine chart." "I always know you Stormballs are dumb," says a Lancorn-wise sword sage. "We have the true, correct chart." And then all begin to claim that they have the real chart, and there is much confusion. Finally, the governor gets quiet restored and tells Griselda to explain all these charts. But she looks quite bewildered and says, "I cannot do this. I will be frank with you, sir. Your subordinate pressures me to hand over the chart, so I decide I will put a spoke in his will and have Treasure Trove Herbie make a copy that leaves out some important detail. It's a beautiful copy, and it looks quite genuine." "Then who has the genuine chart?" asks the governor, with a stern look at the Halicon guy, who looks ready to explode. "Why, Herbie must do," says Griselda. "I have him keep it because I believe no one will figure him to have such a valuable thing, and he will not dare use it himself or cheat me by selling it." "But we buy our chart from Herbie," a Stormball shouts, and then all start yelling the same thing. The governor finally makes out that Herbie sells everyone a chart, claiming that this is the correct one, and he is commissioned to sell it by Griselda, and is selling fake charts to others to throw them off the scent, because there is so much interest in the chart. So nothing will do the governor but to have Griselda look at all the charts and say which is genuine. But she says that all are copies which leave out something important, or even a whole lot, and seems very puzzled. Suddenly, Wolfhead slaps his thigh and bursts out laughing. "Herbie plays everyone for suckers," he cries, "including you, Griselda. He cooks up this scheme and goes off with a genuine chart. I never think he will have the nerve." "He is nothing but a rascal," cries Griselda, seeming very sore. I'm sorry that he cheats all of you, but you must see that he cheats me too, and I lose the genuine chart." The governor says that he is satisfied that this must be what happens, and when some wish to ask more questions, he declares the matter closed, as far as he is concerned, and off we all go. When the story gets around, everyone is half tickled to death to see all the high shots taken, and Griselda too. But I'm not entirely convinced. For I do not believe Herbie to be such a guy as can cook up such a scheme and carry it out on his own. And others say there is more to it than meets the eye, though I cannot say what more if you ask them. Nothing more is heard of Herbie, though, and soon the town starts talking about more current matters. Then one night I'm talking to a lunar god who has some time for me, because I want to put him onto a right good thing in a troll ball game, and he happens to remark that the governor seems much more spry these days. Of course, he says, he's rid of that squirt they sent from headquarters, the one that tries to shake down Griselda for a chart. We are all glad to see him go, for he is such a guy as will poison your drink for the fun of watching you writhe in agony. But the governor is forever throwing parties now, and he is certainly giving the fancy good merchants plenty of play. Why, only the other day he buys a gold arm ring with a red rock in it as big as my thumb, and sends it to someone, though I never think before that he has a doll stashed away here. Now, I will think nothing of this, if I do not remember seeing Wolfhead and Griselda going into a discreet establishment where such characters can go if they want to spend plenty of dough on a good time, and they are all dressed up in the best. And Griselda is wearing just such a ring. Of course, I do not know that there are not two such rings in Pavis, or even three, and if Griselda is the governor's doll, I am a rune lord. But it makes me think. Then another night, Wolfhead and Griselda drop into Lena's for a drink. They seem very relaxed and ready to chat with one and all, and eventually the big Stormball type doll, who hangs out there a lot and whose name turns out to be Hanufa, has the nerve to ask them if they have any idea where Herbie is. I make ready to go under the table, figuring that Griselda will not care to be reminded of this matter, but she only smiles a little and shakes her head. Now this Hanufa seems a rank sucker, and she pursues the topic. He must make plenty from selling all those charts, she says. At this, Wolfhead grins. Not so much, the way I hear it. To make it all seem straight goods, he takes only part of the price in cash and asks a percentage of the loot for the rest, the way he always does. It comes naturally to him to do this, and perhaps he even gets to be believing in his own charts. We all have a laugh at this, and then Griselda says, it may add up to a fair sum at that, but the surest thing you know, he spends it by now on another chart. Everyone laughs even more, but this Hanufa seems to have great difficulty keeping her mouth shut. But what about the genuine chart, she says. He has that, does he not? Now, at this, Griselda and Wolfhead look at each other, and they sigh. Then Griselda turns to Hanufa and looks her slap in the eye, and first puts her finger to her lips, then draws it across her throat, and she is smiling just a little all the time. Hanufa swallows so loud you can hear it right across the room, and she offers them a drink very fast. They accept very fast, and the subject never comes up again. For it is clear that Wolfhead and Griselda do not want it spoken of. In fact, if you mention a certain chart or Herbie in many places around town for quite some time after this, you may be ready to run very fast indeed. Right, well, that's the end of The Great Chart Caper. Thank you for watching and listening, and hope you enjoyed another bedtime adventure with Griselda from the Complete Griselda, and I look forward to reading another story to you soon, and that will be Hanufa's little sister very soon. Thank you and good night.